Awesome. So in preparation for the start of early voting, which begins February 10th, UTC's Mocs Go Vote Committee has asked City Council candidates to speak with high school and college students here in Chattanooga. So we want them to answer our questions and share their vision for the future of the city. And so joining us now is District 8 candidate, Ms. Marie Mott. So Ms. Mott, I will turn it over to you and let you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. My name, of course, is Marie Mott. I am a Chattanooga native and I'm born and raised in District 8, specifically right on the line of Bushtown and Churchville, which are historical African-American communities. I was raised in the same community with my grandma, my aunt, my parents, and so I had a very tight-knit upbringing. We had resources that were in my community. We had a bakery that my great-grandfather worked in. We had a bank. We had a grocery store. I worshiped. I could walk to church. I could walk to a rec center. Had everything I needed. And by the time I was a teenager, almost all of those resources besides the church and rec center were gone. And so I'm running because I've come to the political understanding as an adult that politics really impacts so many people's lives. The decisions that are made at City Hall impact not only the current generation, but generations that follow. And so I wanted to step up because I feel that, no disrespect to the current council person, that he just has not fought for the issues that are impacting a very diverse community such as District 8. And so we have a lot of concentrated poverty. We have very low educational attainment. And so I want to see not only pockets of Chattanooga move into the future, but I want to see Black, I want to see Latinx, I want to see poor, disenfranchised, homeless, returning citizens be part of the future of Chattanooga. And so I'm stepping up as a community activist and organizer because I've done the work and I just want to serve the people at another level.
So I'm going to kick this off. My name is Brianna Brady. I am a senior at UTC this year, and I had the privilege of witnessing your passion this summer as I joined you in the protests and marches that occurred most evenings. And so my first question kind of is off of that. And I want to know, with all of your passion, how do you plan to collaborate with other council members to implement these changes and policies you hope to address?
Absolutely. So one of the first ways I started working on that way before the protest was encouraging other young people around my age or younger to run. So we have Rakita Dotley who's running in District 7. We have Leanne Jones and Dennis Clark are running in District 5. So we have more young people who are running this time around for city council than at any point in history, and even Black women. And so I'm super excited that not only have I cultivated a relationship with people on the campaign trail who are up and coming, but I've gone back and forth to city council. I worked with Carol Burrs to be able to expand the restrictions that they had on city council when it came to public speaking. Ken Smith got me a meeting with the mayor when I had concerns that I wanted addressed. So I've been able to talk with certain council members about some of the things. And of course, we don't always agree on things. Nonetheless, they know that I am willing to discuss things with them, and hopefully we can try to come to some common ground. And so that's the thing that I will continue to do is I'm always going to speak truth to power. However, I do still want to come to the understanding that we have to find common ground to solve issues and problems.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Abojang Ayai, and I am currently a high school student, a junior. And you just spoke about how people in underprivileged backgrounds tend to have less educational opportunities. What do you intend to do with that specifically?
That's an excellent question. So we have 14 schools in my district, ranging from elementary to UTC, and Chattanooga State are both in my district. One of the things that I have not seen is our current council person actually going to the schools and asking the staff what sort of support do they need as far as from a council perspective, what can I help with? But also, what kind of support do you need from the surrounding community? Can we come and clean up the campuses? Do we need to come and encourage people to come to games for children whose parents may not be able to come and participate in supporting them in the things that they're doing extracurricular? The other thing is putting information out there to individuals in the community about what opportunities for the future exist for people in the community. One of the things I've been talking about for the last 2 to 3 years is the shift in the type of jobs for the future, whether we're talking about robotics, whether we're talking about 3D printing. I believe in not just the technical way of going, or the pathway of just going straight to college 4 years. Everybody is not built for that. So what do we have for people who want to get into technical? We have also been working on trying to create a partnership with Hamilton County Schools. They are talking about bringing back Kirkman Technical High School, which used to be a trade school here in the city. And they want to actually put that next to Boone Heisinger site, where Nippon Paint is going to go. So as the council person, hopefully that will be elected over that district, I want to ensure that if they indeed are going to put a technical school right there, that the first priority of the students who want to get involved are going to come from these surrounding communities: Avondale, Eastdale, Orchard Knob, Bushtown, Churchville, which are predominantly Latinx, poor, impoverished, and Black children who might not otherwise have a pathway towards a technical degree.
Okay, so my next question is a little two-sided, but
Okay.
so I know that you're a big proponent of local politics, or big critical of national politics at times. Oh no, my back.
Oh yeah, you're back. Okay.
Okay, so I know you're a big proponent of local politics and often a little critical of national politics. So how do you plan to connect the Chattanooga local scene and reach it beyond the city and have Chattanooga, or allow Chattanooga to have a greater influence on state and national politics?
Excellent question. So there's 2 ways that I've been working on that previously to this point. One, working with our grassroots labor unions, whether that's SEIU 205, whether that's the Labor Council with Austin Brown. I've been very, very active with working with labor unions who are already doing organizing at the state level as well as locally. But the other thing is that I already have friends like Juanita Charles. She's actually going to be coming down to Canvas with me this Saturday, who is a council person in Clarksville. I have my friend Khalid, who's running for mayor in South Fulton, Georgia, the blackest city in Georgia, who's going to be coming to Canvas. I have relationships with All Voters Matter, Black Voters Matter out of Nashville with Timothy Hughes and Charles Albright. And so I'm already well connected. I've done work with Ashley Woodard Henderson from the Highlander Center. And so I'm very well plugged in with a lot of grassroots organizations and labor organizations across the state. And so I want to continue to build on those relationships with individuals, because so much, when I've talked a lot about state preemption when it comes to $15 an hour wages, when it comes to tech jobs and certain things that we love to do or want to do in our cities, because we are home rule cities, meaning we should control our local politics. A lot of times preemption comes from the state level when we do try to make progress. So there is definitely an opportunity that I look forward to building coalitions further with grassroots organizations and public officials across the state, so we can begin to stand as one to take on the state, to make sure we can make progress not only in Chattanooga, but bring the state up, because Tennessee is a very poor, unhealthy, and uneducated state.
Hi. So previously, Chattanooga had been a city that was that had a really bad pollution problem in the city, and since then we've noticed that the city has definitely made some good changes, which has helped with the environment. But what are your current standings on environmental reform, and what do you intend to do in the future in regards to that, in order to ensure that the city continues to make progress in keeping up the environment?
Excellent question. So one of the things that we have to understand, the very reason people come to Chattanooga is because of its beauty. And so that means that we're going to have to protect our riverfront. We need to protect our hardwoods, our watersheds, our creeks. So we need to put in protections for the very environment, and the reason why people come and spend over $1 billion in revenue every year to visit Chattanooga. And part of that means that we're going to have to update our zoning practices. One of the things that came out of steep slope and floodplain meetings at City Council is that we have racked up millions of dollars in fines from developers because they're overdeveloping certain areas, and that's having negative impacts on the environment. I think the other thing is that if Chattanooga is going to be a city for the future, we've got to commit to going zero waste in the next 30 to 40 years. We've got to commit to zero carbon emissions. We've got to take bold stances. Imagine taking the Green New Deal and breaking that down on a very micro scale. The other thing is I've been working with Hill and Garden CHA on building community gardens in the community. I also believe that one of the ways that we'll keep our city clean and begin to take some responsibility beyond just politics and putting it in the hearts and the minds of people is getting people into developing green spaces in the very places that they live. And so we've been doing that at Nema Garden off Main Street. We've done that on the south side at the Bethlehem Center. We've done that with Hope for the Inner City. And so I would like to see that continue to expand beyond District 8, where people begin to take the responsibility of keeping their communities clean and building up gardens, which is just going to turn empty lots and sometimes overgrown spaces into beautiful spaces right in the communities in which we live.
Okay, so we just spoke with Councilman Byrd, and he proposed, in talking about similar issues of environmental problems as well as gentrification, that the city should be looking for revitalization, not gentrification. What is your reaction to that, and what do you think in areas like Highland Park that have been exponentially gentrified? What is your plan for that kind of situation?
So revitalization often is gentrification. Often we don't see investments into these communities until we see large scale development come into these communities. I think one of the things that we need to do is in 2016, Chattanooga Organized for Action participated in holding local banks accountable for only approving half of all African American and Latinx mortgages. We need to follow up on that. Have they improved? Are they approving more individuals in the community for home loans? I think the other thing that we have to rein in that unfortunately my incumbent has supported is Airbnbs that are non-owner occupied. Nashville has put an end to that. You have to live in the house if you want to have an Airbnb. One of the last meetings that we had, almost 46% of one of the communities in my district was Airbnbs, meaning that outside are heavily buying up neighborhoods in our communities and driving up the housing costs, as well as cutting into the shortage. And so we're going to have to rein some of that in. I believe that we still want to give people the opportunity to make money, but we need to put a tap on that. And I think we need to keep track of what is the percentage of homes in the communities that are Airbnbs to make sure that we still have housing stock in the community. Gentrification, unfortunately, is not something that you can technically stop, but I do believe that it is something that you could slow down to ensure that you're not displacing people. I would say the other thing is that in Oak Grove, I'm working with Collier Construction at the Catoosa Thatcher Mill. And one of the things that the developer has done is slated inclusionary housing into the project. So we're making sure that people who rent in the community are not going to be displaced. That's going to be the first project of its kind in the city. And we're looking at utilizing that as a model for future development, where people who are not getting any tax breaks or tax incentives take the bold step as developers to ensure that people in the community get to stay in the community, even if they rent.
Thank you. Fantastic.
You're welcome.
So we've got about 2 minutes left, so maybe one more question if we could.
Yes, so we're currently in the coronavirus pandemic, and many people have suffered financial burden and financial loss, which has put many people in danger of potentially becoming homeless in the future. What do you intend to do to help those that are in need of financial assistance and to even decrease the homeless population?
Absolutely. So for the first part, one of the things that I proposed before the council went on winter break was we have a rainy day fund. We weren't sure whether or not who our president was going to be and if we were going to get federal assistance, but we have a rainy day fund just for those purposes. And considering we went through a tornado and a pandemic, if there ever was a time to tap into an emergency fund, it's right now. And that's not just for people in the community as far as renting or mortgages. We also have to think about small businesses that are closing their doors, which only has a further impact to people in the community. As far as homelessness, the only solution to homelessness is housing. We had experts, Phil Mangano and Todd Lipka, come to Chattanooga last year from California to talk about the solutions to homelessness. At a minimum, we have to have a navigation center, but the only way that they take people off the street is if they have permanent housing. One of the things that they did was took old motels and hotels and turned them into micro housing. One of the things that I see all across East Chattanooga are empty buildings that could be repurposed into micro housing, not only for our homeless population to get them off the street, because we already have organizations and institutions in the city that can offer wraparound services. But when we think about what about our returning citizens who are coming home from prison that need to be productive members of society, they can go into that housing until they get on their feet and get to something better. So instead of tearing down old buildings, why not just repurpose them and utilize those buildings to take people off the street and solve our own problems? I just see a lot of opportunity around us, and that's how I look at that problem.
Great. Unfortunately, we're out of time, but really appreciate your time.
Excellent questions, ladies. Thank you.
Yes, they're great. So appreciate it.